Well, on this very exciting day, I'm very pleased to be joined by the star himself, Dean Kane. ObamaGate is going live tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, and it couldn't have been possible without Dean and all the other actors and all the producers and staff.
But Dean,
Mostly Dean.
Mostly Dean. That's correct. That's correct.
Kidding.
So we started working together actually with Gosnell. I think Gosnell was the first one, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Um, many people out there would know the Gosnell movie, the story about the true crime story about Kermit Gosnell, the Philadelphia abortion doctor. It was a great. I think it was a great movie. You did a great show there, and why when you saw the Gosnell script, what attracted you to that? Why did you decide to start working with us there and then?
Well, part of it was the script was just really well written. It's a great, and then the fact that it was, so much of it was verbatim.
yeah,
Really happened. I thought it was a really important story that needed to be told. And I also knew that, there probably aren't a whole lot of actors who would jump up and down at getting into a film that might be seen or deemed as controversial.
Mhm.
That, of course, didn't bother me because I don't play by those rules. And I was happy to be a part of it. And I think Nick Searcy did a great job directing it. The cast was brilliant all around, especially some of those younger actors we got out of Oklahoma City, which was, we shot in Oklahoma City and we were pretending it was Philadelphia, but what a great job and a really well made film. So I was the story was compelling, and I felt like the story needed to be told, and I liked the character for me. And I enjoyed making the film.
Just let people know you were playing Jim Wood, the detective who accidentally stumbled across America's biggest serial killer. You did mention all the other actors, especially the young actors from Oklahoma City. I mean, that is so true because let's be honest, sometimes in a low budget film, which it was relatively low budget, like 2.6 million. Sometimes the actors, there's one or two actors that are just a little bit ropey. There was no ropey actor in our film. It was wonderful to see.
Which is wonderful. And the thing is, when you have something like that happen within a film, it takes the audience out of the film.
Yeah.
And fortunately, we didn't have any of those situations, and everybody was extremely talented, and they brought it, and it was just beautiful, and it came out on film. It's one of the films that I'm very proud to talk about having made.
One of the other films that I want to come back and talk about ObamaGate, but your old friend Scott Peterson,
That's an interesting talk about another verbatim situation.
Yes.
They've overturned the death penalty for X, Y, and Z reasons, but he's still convicted of the crime. I'm sure he's going to appeal that over and over and over again, and we'll see what happens.
Well, no, I don't know if you saw the latest news. The very, very late. Yeah, the Supreme Court has sent it back to a judge to determine whether he got a fair trial or not.
Wow.
Which is different from the different. So it could be the Scott Peterson story, my fight to prove my release and my innocence. So
wow.
Yeah.
So I played him once. I don't know that I want to play him again.
Yes.
That was an interesting project as well. But, those real life stories are fascinating.
Yeah.
And truth is always stranger than fiction, which is why I guess you're always in the truth world, aren't you?
That's right. Yeah. So let's talk about Peter Strzok. You play Peter Strzok in ObamaGate, and it's not the first time you played him. You played him in FBI Lovebirds, which was a laugh. Actually, it was. I mean, hard to believe. It's the FBI Lovebirds was the text messages of Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. That's all, with some congressional testimony thrown in, and it premiered in DC, and then we had it on CPAC outside DC several months later. But it was just so funny. I mean, I remember being up at the rehearsals up in Hollywood, and I felt it was funny, but I was very nervous that it was just me laughing almost to keep you guys happy or to keep myself happy. But I mean, I don't mind saying I couldn't believe it when you guys came out on the stage. And the humor in those lines, the funniness, the patheticness, the embarrassment of some of them, it was just amazing. Were you surprised or did you see it?
So when I first read it, I didn't see it as a comedy. And when we first started going up there and doing things, I didn't see it as a comedy. And then I realized as we were going along how funny it was and how ridiculous it was. And because I thought, the weight of it, I thought, okay, we have to be, this is these FBI agents. It's a very serious matter. And then you realize how hysterically funny it is that they're having these conversations and how ridiculous it sounds when you put them out and shine a light on them.
Yeah.
It just sounds like two junior high school lovers and not wanting to listen to the teachers and trying to overthrow the principal and, just all that sort of stuff. It's just like, wow. And it's very, very funny. And the lack of self-awareness between the two is incredible, but they think they're very self-aware. And they think they're doing, doing the Superman work to save the country, even though it's unconstitutional, and they're having an affair, all their moral preening. And then in the middle of having an affair.
It's very human, actually. And I remember when you did the show at CPAC, Molly Youngfast, who's a liberal writer, attacked the show and attacked me, the writer, saying, if their desire was to demonize Lisa Page, they actually succeeded in humanizing her. And I'm going, don't you know that's what we were trying to do? Like, I spent so much time going through these text messages and the testimony, trying to find the humanity in them, because if you just set out to demonize someone, you have a really boring, that's what liberals do, I think, in many ways. Oh, let's throw everything at them and demonize them, and this person's evil and we're the heroes. No, make the hero flawed and make the bad person human and understand why they're doing it. It's a much more interesting story.
I agree 100%. And they're very human. They just felt like they were, on the side of right and doing these things, even though everything they were doing was against the Constitution, against the FBI, their jobs. I mean, they thought they were being saviors. And I think the humor is hugely important. I think like the Comey rule, if you look at that looks like masturbation on film, and it just looked like boring as heck. Oh man, they're so serious. And, and the same thing when they try to do readings of, they try to do a couple of the readings, like of the Mueller report. I mean, like, come on, seriously.
I've seen the Comey rule, and I don't think there's one joke in it.
Well, no, we are so self-righteous and wonderful and fantastic, and I'm doing God's work, or who knows what the hell they're thinking, but they certainly saw themselves as the saviors of our republic, and they were just actually not following the Constitution.
And one thing I can tell you for sure, it's not verbatim. And in fact, they even twist stuff. So you know Peter Strzok's texts better than anyone now. And do you remember that text? And people can see it if they go to the ObamaGatemovie.com. But do you remember that text where she says to him, Trump's not going to win, is he? Trump's not going to be president. And you, Peter Strzok, respond in text, no, he's not, we'll stop it, right? In the Comey rule, it's, no, we'll stop it. And she goes, and it's a voice, not text. And she goes, oh, that's a bit much there. And he goes, oh, no, I mean, we, America.
So they clarify for him. And I watched James Comey being interviewed about it, talking about how great it was Jeff Daniels that played him and blah, 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 blah. And, Jeff's a very good actor and a Michigan guy like me. And I'm sure he did a fine job acting it. I probably enjoyed him more in Dumb and Dumber, but maybe this is the opposite. And it seemed just so self-righteous and so we're here and you peons are down here and here's how we take care of you.
That's right. No, that is actually you hit the nail on the head. It's got this, the stress we are under taking care of you little people, because you little people actually do silly things like elect this guy president, and that has to be wrong, and we have to right the wrong, even though, and that is where they come from. So then we did the ObamaGate, and now, actually we did FBI Lovebirds, and now we have ObamaGate, which is an updated version. Lots of new material has come out about Flynn, more text messages, more personal text messages. Actually, I was very happy. Funny, I just want to say to Molly Youngfast, I was so delighted when more personal text. I don't want, the conspiracy, great, but I want these people to be human.
Well, you might understand some of their motivations or how they see themselves or things of that nature, get a better idea of their relationship. The difference between this movie, and I know you know it, but I'll share it with the audience, between this movie, ObamaGate, the movie, versus FBI Lovebirds is we're not sitting there just reading texts. We're not sitting there just with a notebook reading text. It's almost as though there's a dialogue going on between the characters, and and it plays out like a dialogue, and we're not sitting there reading, we're doing it on stage, and it's interspersed with lovely tweets and congressional testimony and some fun things, and it tells a really interesting story, and you can watch it like a story.
And it's a story. I mean, that's another thing. Brian and I, when we were doing this, Brian Godow, the co-writer, we wanted to tell a story. We wanted to try and bring you from here to there, and bring you to the end. Which did you prefer? I mean, which did you have better fun making? Do you think? I suppose was FBI Lovebirds the first time you were on stage?
Yeah, FBI Lovebirds was the first time I was ever in a live stage situation to hear the audience react and do things, and I enjoyed it. It's a lot of pressure in that sense, but I think, and I liked it. Because that you get that immediate response, and I understand why stage actors go, man, it's nothing like that.
Yeah.
However, I'm more comfortable in the film world. Yeah. I understand that world better, and more eyes get to see it. So it's a stage play, but it's filmed so you can see it. So I like the reach that it has. And sure, I could do the performance 30 times. I'd rather not. I don't want to do it 7 or 8 times a week either. I don't know how those guys do that. Well, they're not doing it now, but I don't know how they do that. I think we just get monotonous. Maybe I'm crazy. I just haven't experienced it enough, but I would think that would get, as an actor, whew.
Well, I think, they say every audience is different and they get something different out of every performance. And I can see that. Because even CPAC was different from the night in DC.
Markedly different.
Yeah. So it's just, they say every audience is different. But I mean, I think you actors have an addiction, that to acting.
Most actors do.
Yeah.
I happen to be addiction free.
Well, I think thank God that actors do have addictions, because who would do that job? I think, who would go, and the theatre world isn't that well paid. So thank God that there are these addicts out there who will fill their need and give us entertainment at the same time.
I thank them all the time.
Yeah.
And I love to see a show when I'm in New York.
Yeah.
I just don't want to do one.
Very good, very good. So you're based up the road in Malibu here, and I mean, obviously you're slightly out of lockstep with the mainstream Hollywood politics at the moment. Not as much as some people would think, by the way, right? Everyone loves to put people in their box, but your politics are much more layered and complex than actually many people, I just know that from talking to you about various political positions. But how does it feel to be boxed over there, even though you may not, you may have these mixed opinions?
I do have mixed opinions, and I voted for Democrats and Republicans in the past. I'm here in California. I'm a declared I am a no designation. I'm not considered an independent, because I tried that once, one voting cycle. I was like, I'm independent. And then they put me in the American Independent Party. I'm like, what the heck is this? So I'm an undeclared voter. And I right now very much align with the Republican platform versus the Democrat platform. But even on that, I don't follow anybody's platform 100%. And I talk about this all the time. The problem, I think, with so many people today is they will pigeonhole you. That's what you are.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to talk to you about it. Get into the issues, talk about the issues, and then be friends. Go play basketball game together. Go hang out together. Go have dinner. I like to have those conversations with my friends and have those differences in policy. And listen, if your argument is better and makes more sense than mine, I will change my opinion. Yeah. If it's not, maybe you'll change yours.
Yeah, it seems to have got worse though in recent years.
Yes.
When I first came to Hollywood 10 years ago, you would get in a room with people, to talk to people. I think the doors are closed to people like me now. That's just, I think, and not only that, I mean, I see it in journalism, which is where I came out of. Used to be there was there was always one part of the newspaper where the person that the newspaper disagreed, they'd give him a column and everyone would be outraged. But people would always go and read it. Now you try and give a dissenting voice in a newsroom, the journalists will walk out.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's where I think our biggest problem is with the media right now. Yeah. It's incredible. They're not just journalists.
Yeah.
They're opinion and activists.
Yes.
And that's just it. When you're going to be an activist journalist, you're not, I mean, what do they teach in journalism school these days? It makes me wonder.
I would love to go to a journalism school now and just say to people, look, you're going into one of the greatest jobs in the world, right? It's going to be a blast. You're going to have a ball, but you've got to be a journalist. Like you got to go out there and find stories that you don't do. I mean, it's a bit like I think Scalia said about being a judge. If you're a great judge, you'll end up with judgments you don't like, because you're not making the law. You're actually interpreting the law that Congress passed, or the Constitution that was passed.
Vis-a-vis the Constitution.
Yes.
Whether it holds up constitutionally. Exactly.
So you might say, well, this law is constitutional. I don't like it, but it's constitutional. Similarly, as a journalist, you'll go out and you'll find a story and you'll say, I don't like this story. I don't like these facts. I don't like what this person is saying. But really, I can't challenge it. It's the truth. So let's put it out there. I don't think they'll do that now. And I don't think they see it as part of their duty.
I think they would actually bury it.
Yeah.
So many of them, because they have an agenda.
Yeah.
And there's a narrative they want to follow. And I happen to disagree with most of those narratives right now.
Well, I mean, even if you disagree with it, it's sort of sad. And I think it's, one of the things I feel sorry for a lot of people, journalists, even hard leftists, people like that. They miss out so much fun as well. And I think they miss out of the fun of Trump as well, the humor of Trump.
He's hysterically funny. Yeah. And you can laugh with him, or you can laugh at him, you can do whatever you want. But yeah, I don't see a whole lot of humor coming from Joe Biden. And then but I cannot listen to Kamala Harris and her laugh. That is just like nails on a chalkboard for me. Everything's not that funny, but for her, I think that's, all actors they end up with, not all, but most actors end up with, habits, bad habits, or this or that. They do this that laughter thing for me, it gets on my last good nerve.
I mean, I don't want to talk too much about politics because, it's ObamaGate we want to talk about, but I actually think that Hollywood could suffer because of this creatively. If you exclude 50% of the population from wanting to cater to them, and a lot of the actors who want to cater for them, and kind of make your own art kind of humorless and didactic and preachy. They used to talk about conservative movies being preachy. Boy, we weren't anywhere near in the ball game at all.
Well, look, I was a big fan of the Frank Capra movies back in the day. And, of course there's some clear propaganda there and there's some things like that. And so pro-America, but I happen to believe in those things. At the same time, I think Rob Reiner is a great filmmaker. Yeah. I despise his politics and disagree with him completely. I sat down with him recently and, we talked a little bit of politics and we talked about this movie. He didn't hire me, but I would work for him in a heartbeat. Mm. I would still have the integrity of my character and do my thing, but I think he's a great filmmaker. Just like I think Robert De Niro is a very good actor. I just don't like his political rantings, and I don't like him stepping out of the stage of the Tony and say F Trump and get a standing ovation. I think that's madness. And those people have gone so far. Plus there's always this like threat of like violence or thing. I'm like, that's not, if you don't like someone's opinion, okay. But to pick him, take him back up behind the woodshed, like Joe Biden claimed to want to do to Trump and things like that. It's like, come on, what are you talking about? I don't get that. So if you can't have a reasonable discussion and disagreement and still work with people, that's unfortunate, because I can and I will. And I plan on it. So talking about ObamaGate, it was a bigger cast this time. You had, obviously, you reunited with Christie, who played Lisa Page, and John James from Dynasty, who played James Comey in his Boy Scout uniform. How did you enjoy the new script and the new cast and your new castmates? Well, I think it's great. I even called you right when I first read it, and I said, this is really good. This is better, and it's tighter and better than the versions we've done before by a long shot, I thought. And I think it really played that way. And there's still things that go on with it that crack me up. Like every single time James Comey comes on, John James comes on and reads some of those tweets, I start laughing, and I try not to laugh on stage because it just seems so incredible. Geologic time. You present. I mean, what? Yeah. What are you doing? So that stuff is so funny, and it's trying to be so profound. That's why I imagine the Comey rule must suck as entertainment, because You're probably having one of those every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But I just think that it was great this time. Everybody was funny. John Brennan was funny. They're just funny, and there's humor. That's the thing about this that I didn't expect. Again, when I first started, was the humor, and there's a lot more humor in the film version. So I'm anxious to get a final look at it. I haven't seen the final product, so.
You'll have to log on to YouTube like everyone else tonight at 9 p.m. But we might send you a sneak early version.
All right, good.
Okay. For everyone who wants to see it, go to ObamaGateMovie.com. And Dean, thank you very much. I'm already planning our next show.
Excellent.
I suppose it depends on the result on November the 3rd.
Okay, I was going to say, I'm not going to play Scott Peterson, man. Don't do it to me.
I don't know. What about Hunter Biden?
Well, Hunter Biden, there's a fun character to play because...
Oh, listen.
Look what he's done.
Yeah. Well, look what he hasn't done.
Oh, my gosh.
I could just see you lying there with a crack pipe or a meth pipe, you know.
You can't get a real drug near me, but I'll play like it. But I can't, you go from that stuff, getting drummed out of the U.S. Armed Forces after even getting in there questionably, out of the reserves for testing positive for cocaine, all these problems. Then you're ripping around with your dad, who's the vice president of the United States, and making these deals to provide access to your father. I mean, that's really all it is. And we all know what it is. Yeah. After having sex with your former brother, who's your late brother's wife, and then being married in here and having a child with a dancer and having all that stuff happen. And the way the media has murdered this is unbelievable. If it was a Trump kid, it would be headline news.
He's a great character. Maybe we'll
I'll play him.
Very good. Okay. ObamaGateMovie.com is where you can see. It's on YouTube, free of charge. So please enjoy, everyone. And thanks, Dean.
Thank you, fellows.